While Chicago is known for its deep dish and tavern-style pizzas, there's one pizza creation that took the world by storm, and you could only get it in one place here in the city. But that's about to change. The Pizza Pot Pie is a creation from the Chicago Pizza and Oven Grinder Company restaurant here in the city. I know, the name's a handful. Now, the restaurant itself sits right across the street from the notorious St. Valentine's Day Massacre, which for many of you who aren't into mob history, which is probably like most of you normal people, is the site of one of the gnarliest shootings in American mob history, led by none other than Al Capone himself. But I digress. All right, let me set the stage. You walk into a dimly lit wooden dining room. Legit, it's like walking into a decked out log cabin, right? It doesn't get more quintessential Chicago tavern than this. There are lanterns on the walls, big communal tables, and intimate little wooden booths that make you feel like you're just protected from the world. It's nice. And if the vibe and the decor isn't enough to make you feel like you've time traveled, then the food definitely is. I'm talking large format family style salads, massive hot oven grinders that come fresh out the oven, and of course the star of the show, the Pizza Pot Pie. So it's exactly what it sounds like, right? It's not a traditional pizza in the sense. It comes out to the table and is set free with a spoon by one of the many skilled servers at the restaurant. It's plopped out onto a plate, you cut it with a fork and a knife, and before you know it, you've consumed about a pound of dough, cheese, and sauce. It's magical. Now, I mean no disrespect, but the copycat recipes that I've seen for this on the internet don't really resemble what I experienced at the restaurant itself, so we're gonna make it together the right way. Me and you. Now, as far as their dough goes, the menu describes it as a triple raised Sicilian bread type dough. I know, another mouthful, but what I basically did was took my Sicilian pizza dough recipe and took the percentage hydration down by about, I think like 13%. So what that means is it's a little easier to work with and it's gonna clamp onto the bowl easier. I'll show you in a bit, but let's mix it up. It's really easy. Into a bowl goes our bread flour, instant yeast, and shugs. We're gonna mix that around by hand a bit before adding in our water. Boom, all of our water in. And we're just gonna mix this up till a shaggy dough is formed. So Sicilian dough is traditionally a very high hydration dough, not the easiest to work with. So the reason I took the hydration percentage down is because, you know, we don't need something that droops off the side of the bowl. We want something kind of solid. All right, that's what I mean when I say shaggy dough. It doesn't have to be perfect. Dinner plate on top. And we're just gonna let this rest or auto-lease for about 25 minutes. All right, now for the sauce, it's more like a ragu than a sauce, right? Like a thicker meat sauce. According to their menu, the homemade sauce consists of olive oil, fresh garlic, onions, green peppers, whole plum tomatoes, and sausage made from prime Boston butts. We like prime butts. Maybe you don't. Maybe it's not your thing. So this sauce is extremely simple. You add some stuff to a pot, you let it simmer down a bit. That's pretty much it. Medium heat, butter. You could use olive oil, but Chicago style sauces usually use butter in my experience, and it's a nice little like differentiator and a nice touch, but use olive oil if you want to. We're gonna put in a whole load of Italian sausage. A little black pep, pinch of kosher, and we choppy. So I'm just kind of waiting for this to brown. So we're gonna flip this, see what we got here. Oh yeah, not entirely. Oh yeah, we got some color. Got some browning on the side of the pan as well. So now we can just continue to basically hibachi chop away. So it doesn't have to be super fine. I actually prefer a little bit of texture and chunkatry in my sauce. So don't feel like you have to chop the crud out of that. Cool. Okay, now we can add the rest of the stuff. Like I said, very easy. We're not removing anything to brown the onions, then reintroducing things. All we do is add the onion, the green bell pep, the garlic, and a little bit of oregano and red pepper flake. Pinch of kosher for good measure. Remember that sausage is already pretty salty, and we just stir that around. Now we're gonna cook this until the vegetables turn kind of like translucent and soften just a touch. You can see those massive fennel seeds in there. If your Italian sausage doesn't have fennel in it, I don't want it. all Italian sausage pretty much has fennel in it, but if it doesn't, that's a red flag. See that internal caramelization we're getting on the side of the pan? That's a good sign. We're pretty much where we need to be. Vegetables have softened. Now we just add our tomato product. This is a can of crushed tomatoes. And you know what? I'm gonna be economical here. Do a quick rinse of that, make sure we get all those tomatoes. Now you can use your little spatch to kind of scrape that caramelization off the side of the pan, get all that flavor. We're harvesting flavor here. Remember, we season as we go. Pinch of kosher. So you can see here, it's chunky for sure, but it's still got a lot of liquid in it, so we're just gonna reduce this down for maybe about 10, maybe 20 minutes, just until we get to the consistency we're looking for, which is gonna happen right now. All right, check this out. Nice and thicky. Now we're just gonna cut the heat and add some of this stuff. This is just fish sauce, right? It's like fermented anchovy juice. Yum. But real talk, it tastes great in basically any tomato-based sauce and adds sort of like a layer of depth and umami to it. If you can taste the fish sauce in your final sauce, then you've added too much. So we're just going for a quick smidge here. Boom. And I did not cook this because it tends to get a little, kind of funky when you cook it. So I like to kind of just stir it in at the end here. Beautiful. It's also gonna add a little extra salt. Now at this point we can taste. We've been tasting, but. Woo! Worth it though, worth it though. It's great. Sauce, done. All right, our dough has rested. All we gotta do now is drizzle a little bit of salt on top. I like to kind of just work that in. Look how elastic that is just from resting. Gluten has already started developing. We're just gonna roll that into a ball. Just kind of like to mesh it around by hand like this and just knead it a bit. The cool thing about this is if this dough wasn't already super easy, you're just gonna knead it until the salt is fully worked into the dough, and then you're gonna let it sit in the fridge for a day, right? Do you have to do that? No, but you should, because it makes the flavor a lot better, and it will allow the dough to fully hydrate and develop. But for now, all we're doing is kneading this until it's semi-smooth, keyword semi. All right, we're gonna have to move this dang board. Move your dang board. Make it a lot easier on yourself. All right, man, let's get this going into a nice little ball, roll it onto itself, and that's literally it, right? We're not worried about this. That's gonna develop real nice in the fridge. So all I'm gonna do, take a container, tiny bit of olive oil, plop it in, give it a nice wang jangle, pop that lid right on there, and this goes into the fridge for a day. But lucky for us, I made some dough yesterday. So we got here. So check this out. It's risen, it's puffy. You can see the bubbles on the side there. That yeast has had time to work its magic. Everything's hydrated. This thing is pretty much ready to use. But we gotta talk about a couple of things before we build. Peep this cheese. This is called Wisconsin brick cheese, right? This is traditionally what is used for a pizza pot pie at Chicago Pizza and Oven Grinder Company. Restaurant, establishment. Wisconsin brick cheese, man. So it got its name because the cheesemakers used to basically press this into large bricks, they'd slice it up, hence the name brick cheese. Now, it's a little sharper than a mozzarella. It's probably more akin to maybe a Gouda or like an Asiago, right? When it melts and you smell the pizza coming out of the oven, you can kind of almost smell a little bit of the sharpness from the cheese. It is a soft cheese, right? It melts very nicely. That's what we're gonna use in our pizza today. So we're gonna build our pizza pot pie in this guy right here, right? This is the smallest of the Pyrex bowls, right? It's an oven-proof material, similar to glass, but not really. I've used this in my tests and it works really, really well. This is also a very common household object and it's also very cheap if you don't have one, so we're gonna use this. I like it because it also has this nice lip on it and it just works. All right, so we're just gonna spray this down with some good old Pam. That's gonna make sure that things don't stick Now we are going to generously lay in our brick cheese, lining the sidewalls of the bowl. Now this cheese, as you can see, is a little thicker than your average slice. You can just ask your deli guy to slice it like that, or, you know, if you're using thin cheese, go ahead and double it up. Now this is a super cheesy pizza, right? It's part of the fun of this whole style. So I'm just gonna go in with a nice little semi-double layer here. Very nice. Now we're gonna spoon in some of our sauce. 1, 2, 3. That looks nice, because remember, you want to give it some space because we are going to add this thing. It's a criminy mushroom. I just scored it to make it look nice, but no one's gonna see it, so it doesn't matter. Took the stem out too. So we're just gonna add these right in the mix here. On the menu, they say doorknob-sized mushrooms, but that would be kind of crazy to stick a doorknob-sized mushroom in that. Maybe just a little more sauce to cover. Yeah, baby. Let's go. All right, so this is our dough here, right? That's the whole thing. Now, you really only need maybe about half of this. And I like to go a little substantial on the dough here because it needs to be somewhat thick. I'm forming this into a disc. It's really no crazy technique. The fact that the dough's kind of like fridge cold still, actually it works out in our favor because it's gonna basically seal onto the bowl way easier. And that looks good to me. That's about the thickness we're going for. I know it varies, but there's no real science to this, which is kind of fun. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna lay this on top here, and I'm gonna kind of come around and make sure that the dough doesn't slouch down. Like, see how it's slouching down there? We don't really want that fully. I'm gonna kind of pinch it to the sides, oh so lightly. More like, I guess, hug it to the sides than pinch. How we looking, how we looking? Yeah, something like that. Not crazy even, but this thing's already on our sheet tray. Now I can put it in the oven. Into the oven, middle rack, 375 degrees Fahrenheit for 25 minutes. All right, let's check on this bad boy. Oh yeah, look at that, looking fucking marvelous. Okay, so check this out. So see how we're kind of starting to take on some color here? This dough is extremely pale. That's kind of like the main thing about this dough. So what I'm gonna do now is tent it a bit, just to really make sure that it continues to cook through and our dough isn't sort of still moist and undercooked, but it doesn't take on any of that color. So foil on, it's gonna need about 5 more minutes. All right, let's see what we got here. Nice. Last thing to do is brush this bad boy with just a little bit of butter. Hot out the oven, that butter is gonna absorb into the crust, make it look shiny. Cool. Nice little trick, got some cutting gloves. They are kind of like heat resistant, not fully, but better than bare skin. So then the latex on top so they don't get dirty. Look at that. A lot of barbecue guys do this to like cut brisket and stuff. All right, so check this out. You can see now it's smooth around the rim, but there is a little crack somewhere, so right there. So that's gonna be where we enter with the spoon. Gotta take advantage of those natural crack formations. So we're gonna pour that over. See this, the cheese just released beautifully. I'm gonna come in with my spoon. It will rip a bit, that's natural. And unsheath your beauteous pizza pot pie. Look at that. You got the ooey gooey cheese, kind of like it looks super thick and shiny. That pale dough, thing's beautiful. Now, remember when I said that crack? Look at that. So we got a couple here. We got one here, one there. The beauties and the imperfections. We're gonna just use that as a guide though to make our cuts. Make this thing easier to eat. So they have a half pound and a full pound. This one might be above a full pound. Not sure, but it looks nice and mondo. So look at that thing. Come on. Now from here, you can get crafty. Put some giardiniera on there, a little bit of basil, maybe some fresh Parmigiano Reggiano. Red Chili Flake is classic, they have that at the restaurant. Anything, right? I'm keeping mine bare bones though. Let's lift up a chunk. Yo. It's all hidden, all that molten cheese is hiding everything. Wild. I don't know, what do you think? Should we eat it? Should we try it? Should we have some? Woo! Yo, That do be tasty. Damn, that's very accurate to what I had at the restaurant. I'm happy with that. This dough is super pale and it might look like unappealing if you're used to that leoparding and that crispy undercarriage, but if you think of this thing as kind of like more like a fun pizza product and less like an actual slice of, you know, like, I don't know, New York style or tavern or anything like that, it's really nice and it's different and it's fun and it's super doable as you saw, so. Triple P pizza pot pie. Hope you guys dug this. If you liked the video, like the video. If you're new to the Chansky and you love pizza, subscribe to the Chansky and continue to love pizza. If you do love pizza, I got a ton of other videos all about dozens of different styles at this point. I don't know, there's a lot up there. Come say what up in the Discord if you're not already over there chatting with us. I'm doing some awesome giveaways coming up here. We do one every quarter, little cooking picture competition, so come win some cool prizes and check that out. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I got for you. So until next we meet, ciao.